Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the RegTech Association's RegTech Edge No Borders event on data, cyber, and information security. My name is Nathan. I'm the Community Manager for the RegTech Association. In a spirit of reconciliation, the RegTech Association acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and the connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to the elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. In acknowledging a country, we honour the resilience, wisdom, and innovative spirit of Indigenous communities. Innovation is woven into the fabric of Indigenous cultures, so let us tread this land with reverence, recognising that every step we take is on land that holds stories, memories, and ancient knowledge. Since 2020, over 21,000 people from more than 100 countries have attended the RegTech Association programs. So it's great to see the continued support of these programs. And we thank you today for joining us live this afternoon or for watching the recording at a later date. A few housekeeping items before we get into it. Today will be recorded and every registered delegate will receive the link. Please keep your cameras and mics off unless you are presenting. We ask that any and all questions be asked in the chat, and don't be shy. And I'll ask our presenters to jump into the chat and answer those questions directly. There will be a couple of polls that come up now and then, and we would appreciate your input. To our presenters, I'd like to respectfully ask that you not go over your 5 minutes so that everyone gets an equal opportunity. Now we have 6 RegTechs presenting today, but first it is my pleasure to introduce Julian Busick, who will give us an overview of the data, cyber, and information security landscape. Julian is a security solutions architect at AWS, working with customers, the regulators, and AWS teams to help customers adopt the AWS cloud in a secure, resilient, and compliant manner. Prior to joining AWS, Julian worked for the Australian Prudential Regulation Authority, that's a mouthful, APRA, in the IT risk team, responsible for the supervision of banks, credit unions, insurers, and superannuation funds, licensing of new entrants to the financial services industry, and the development of APRA's prudential standards and guidance. I'll hand it over to you. Thanks, Julian. And also you're on mute, so.
There we go. All right. Thank you very much for that introduction, Nathan. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Julian. It's a pleasure to open today's session with some broad observations on the data, cyber, and information security landscape. These are based both on my current AWS role, working with customers and financial services regulators in Australia and New Zealand, and they're also drawn from my previous experience working at APRA. I'm a little bit under the weather today, I'm afraid, so please forgive the croaky voice. Now, to the landscape itself, I am not one of these FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt people, and I do very much prefer to highlight the positives of the areas that I work in rather than the negatives. But the data, cyber, and information security landscape is unfortunately extremely complex and extremely hostile. Every aspect is under constant and evolving threat. Malicious activity is highly automated. A recent statistic I read said that an unsecured vulnerable system would be discovered and compromised within a handful of seconds of being connected to the internet. And of particular recent note is the alacrity with which Gen AI has been adopted by scammers. Cyber incidents are unfortunately constantly in the news. We have regular ransomware attacks, regular data breaches. And the last few weeks have seen publication of a cyber safety review board report into an APT at a major cloud provider. And in the last few days in Australia, we've had the accidental deletion of a major superannuation fund's cloud tenancy, which took days to recover. My point here is not to highlight the misfortunes of others, because I strongly believe we have a collective responsibility for cyber safety, and we enjoy our successes and suffer our reverses together. Rather, the point in highlighting these things is that I want to point out that the vectors for these incidents are all different. We have financially motivated bad actors, cyber criminals. We have politically motivated nation state actors. And we have unfortunate, unwitting errors by internal staff. What I want to do is use these different vectors to highlight the complexity of the landscape that we operate in. This landscape is also characterized by increased regulatory and government scrutiny. Regulators are tough and they're getting tougher. Particularly in this area of the world, which is my domain of expertise, governments and financial services regulators have been very clear indeed about their expectations via a range of standards and supporting guidance. I've got some examples on screen from APRA and the Reserve Bank of New Zealand down here, but we also have DORA in the EU. There are very clear common themes. Organizations are expected to have appropriate skills in cyber, and boards are held accountable for implementing and maintaining an appropriately strong control environment. This control environment includes detection and response capability for when, and that's when and not if, things go wrong. Following avoidable incidents, regulators have levied significant capital charges against organizations where they've identified poor risk management practices, and regulators have required remediation programs to be implemented, usually under third-party oversight. These can be very expensive and long tail and a significant distraction to executing an organization's business strategy. Board and executive remuneration is being increasingly tied to positive cyber and information security and regulatory outcomes, so there can be no illusions about what is expected of us collectively as we work to safeguard our customers' systems and data. I said at the beginning, I'm not a FUD guy, and it is not all bad news. Regulators recognize the increased security and resilience of cloud-based platforms if those cloud-based platforms are used correctly. The regulatory climate in Australia and New Zealand is actually cloud positive. All the major financial services regulators have published guidance which provides a pathway to the cloud for critical systems. And indeed, financial services regulators and governments themselves see the security and resilience value and benefits in cloud as they renew their own internal systems, and they lean heavily into technologies like Gen AI. However, there are still some myths and misunderstandings about cloud usage which can unintentionally shut people out from the potential benefits. In conversations with boards and executives, I regularly encounter myths and misunderstandings around cloud. Things like, well, I'd love to use AWS, Julian, but I can't use cloud for core systems. I'd love to use AWS, but I can't store sensitive data there, or I'm not allowed to use overseas regions. The fact is that regulators and governments are actually open to all kinds of solutions, all kinds of architectures, as long as risks are understood and managed. This idea is key. All options are open, but boards remain accountable for the management of risk and for effective response when things go wrong. Our third-party ecosystem can do much of the heavy lifting to improve our collective security posture. Regulators are expecting regulated entities, the consumers of third-party products and platforms, to conduct extensive due diligence and oversight into their vendors' control environments. This is because a vendor's control environment is an extension of your own. A key, therefore, for third parties and vendors is to focus not only on security and resilience as you build your own platforms, but to concentrate on providing evidence to your customers or your potential customers of how you do this. I believe that these are areas where AWS excels and where we help our customers excel. And I'd be happy to talk further on this point or in any of the areas that I've touched on today. My contact details are in the corner of the screen, but for now, I'll say thank you for your attention. I'll hand back to Nathan, and I look forward to the rest of today's presentations.
Thank you so much, Julian. As I mentioned earlier, we're going to run a couple of surveys during today's events. Just trying to launch it. I'm rolling solo today, so things are taking a bit longer than normal. Here we go. We would appreciate if you could fill these in. These insights help us at the RTA improve these events. So we're going to jump into our RegTech presentations now. First up, I'd like to introduce Jeremy from Intalock.
Thank you very much, Nathan. thank you to RegTech for the opportunity to be able to speak to you today. I was really excited by the way that there's just these succinct 5-minute presentations, because it made me think about my space in data security. So I lead data security and cloud practice at Intalock, and a lot of the conversations I'm having with customers with problems at the moment. And a lot of the new problems are actually solved by old approaches to data security, and there is a growing imperative around it. AI is one of the new beasts that's pushing this imperative around understanding and securing your data, along with the breaches that, Nathan touched on earlier. Next slide, please. AI is, next slide, please. AI is everywhere at the moment. If we were in an audience here, I'd ask people to raise their hands if they've used AI in the last fortnight. And I would imagine we would have, probably, 75% of people raising their hands, especially in this sector. These stats are quite interesting, and they're from Salesforce, but they're actually 8 months ago. And I would imagine that this is growing. So, your business is going to be using AI in some way, shape, or form. If you're in legal at the moment, in law, you're already, heavily using it. And AI feeds off your data. Generative AI is looking at your data in your business, and especially with the likes of Copilot, becomes very important to understand what data those AI models are getting access to, what information they're able to give back to individuals of your business, and whether they should be getting that information. Next slide, please. But, securing your data comes back to some principles, and I've been working in data security for 15 years now, and it's always the same principles. Having a governance framework to be able to work to secure your data, being able to understand the classification of your information, where there's sensitive information to your business, who's got access to it, what are they actually doing with that information. Just because you've got access to, a repository of sensitive files doesn't mean you can just grab those and put them on a USB key, for example. But if you apply those principles with what we're talking about with AI, that means that model, under a normal user, isn't going to be able to access payroll information, isn't going to be able to, access board reports, sensitive information within your environment, because you've got appropriate controls, appropriate permissions, and that's defined by a data governance framework or an information governance framework. Next slide, please. And a lot of the conversations we're having at the moment are around DLP strategies. There's a lot of RFIs coming out for DLP strategies. A lot of industries that previously haven't been so concerned with data security, with potential breaches, are now putting priority on that. The EU Privacy Act changes are pushing different industries who don't have customer data to now protect their employee data. And AI is no different in the way that it's accessing data. A DLP strategy is pushed from the information or data governance framework. People aren't out there buying tools and then reverse engineering them to see how they can work in their business. You define who should have access to what data, what's sensitive data for your business. Get those foundations right, and then you can build a strategy on that based on tooling that you've got, secure email gateways, endpoint protection, so that you've got some assurance that the right people have access to the right information they need to do their jobs, and you're having a model of least privilege. So when you come to adopt AI in your business, as is inevitably going to happen, you can at least be assured that you've got controls over your sensitive data within your business. Next slide, please. So at Intalock, we've got a vast services portfolio, as you can see there. Part of that is data security and recovery that we're talking about, but inevitably your cyber security, your perimeter security, all of those things around it. Data security DLP is a holistic solution, across an entire environment. Next slide, please. And appreciate your time and letting me speak. I've got some contact details on there. I believe we're sending these slides out later. I would love to have a chat with you. Feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Jeremy. Right on time. Now I will hand it over to Vivian.
Thank you, Nathan. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Vivian Zhou, co-founder and chief product officer for Callscape. In today's data-driven world, the valuable insight are often trapped in data silos, but privacy and the security concerns make data collaboration difficult. We address this challenge with the privacy-preserving data management tools. Let's delve into the problem. Today, data is extremely fragmented across platforms, hindering insights. Stricter privacy regulations making sharing data across those silos risky, especially with the personal information involved. This slows down the data handling and limits the innovation. Next. In Australia, the upcoming Privacy Act presents a big challenge for data management and the AI initiative. The new Privacy Act expands the definition of personal information beyond traditional details like name, address, phone number, etc., to include any persistent and universal digital IDs, with the potential for further additions. Moreover, consumers gain more control over their personal data and can request data deletion at any time. So because of that, any unauthorized personal data access, release, and use constitute a data breach, with a fine for severe breaches significant increase up to 50 million a minimum. Organizations now face a critical question. How can we harness data for innovation while ensuring robust data security and user privacy? Next. Imagine there's a solution that guarantees a seamless data sharing, completely eliminating PII from all data flows, with a privacy by design integrated into daily operations. That is what Callscape offers. We provide a full automated privacy-preserving solution, Callscape Identity Exchange, to facilitate 3 key types of data sharing flows. The first one is a remote linkage that used to identify overlap between 2 data sets for insight without revealing PII. That's ideal for the data enrichment, measurement, and the consent status synchronizations. The other one is a remote integration that is used for secure shared de-identified data sets across organizations for anonymous analytics, co-op consortiums, and across border data sharings. The third one is a remote resolution that used to unify data at the individual level precisely by securely navigating an identity graph without revealing any PII. This supports real-time verifications and the fraud detections. Next, with a Callscape, you are in control. Keep personal data secure at home, but still connect and share data effortlessly across organization systems and even borders. No coding headaches. Callscape enabled this by eliminating personal data from equations. We focus on insight, not identity. Plus, consent update sync seamlessly, ensuring ongoing compliant data use. As a result, organizations get the power of rich and individual level data for AI and analytics, unlocking valuable insights, all while protecting privacy and ensuring security. Next. Let me illustrate how Callscape make a difference. One of our clients, a healthcare analytic platform operating in multiple countries, needed to access diverse patient data across the institution for insight and AI development. They struggled with the lengthy approval processes and the manual data management. Callscape streamlined their operation by efficiently integrating data from diverse sources without compromising security and privacy. Next. Our solution delivered impressive results. 68% reduction in operation cost, over 200% increase in scalability through extended data sources, 70% decrease in the risk of data breaches. Next. Let's turn data collaboration into a reality. Check our site and experience Callscape Identity Exchange firsthand. Our Keynote software is completely free. In just 30 minutes, you can be protecting your PII and unlocking first data flow with your partners. Don't wait. We're eager to hear your specific use case and explore how Cascade can help your organization achieve more with the data. Next. Now you know where you can find us. Feel free to reach out and connect with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Vivian. Right on time. Next up, we have Joe from Battleground.
Yep.
Over to you.
Thanks, Nathan, and thank you to the RegTech Association for the opportunity to speak with the group today. Battleground is organizational resilience and risk in your pocket. And I reflect on Julian's opening comments that this isn't about necessarily if, but it's about when there's going to be disruption to your organization. And the space that we really play in is helping organizations to prepare for and respond to disruption so that they can continue towards their objectives in the most effective way. Next slide, please. When we're talking about resilience, the space that we're really playing in is the crisis management, business continuity, emergency management, and disaster recovery space. So very much focusing on how can organizations be ready for disruption? How can they focus on the outcomes of that disruption and their response to that, making sure that they are continuing to meet customer expectations, meet expectations from regulators, from other stakeholders across all of society. Next slide, please. So the challenge that we face in this space around business continuity and resilience, and again, not wanting to be Mr. FUD, there is a huge amount of complexity and plethora of regulations in this space. There's ISO standards that are relevant. There's Business Continuity Institute standards. Here in Australia, we've got APRA prudential standards, both 234 and 230. And also globally, we've got things like DORA, the Digital Operational Resilience Act in Europe, and a range of other requirements. And what we find is they layer complexity on each other. More and more complexity, more and more conversations about what this acronym means, what that standard requires. And that complexity hides the business value. The business value in this space is helping our clients build a resilient organization to anticipate disruption, to succeed despite challenges and evolve for the future. But what we find in so many organizations is the tick box mentality. Compliance becomes the goal and the purpose is lost. Next slide, please. So what is Battleground and what does our platform do? Well, as I indicated earlier, it's about resilience in your pocket. It brings together in one location, in one system, business impact analysis, the ability to conduct your crisis, business continuity, disaster recovery, emergency planning, also the ability to manage your response to incidents as they occur, and that is both online and also via mobile response, and capture all of that information that's necessary for you to be on top of managing an incident. We also find that many of our customers utilize the platform from a simulations perspective to help them manage through those simulations and events that to enable them to be well prepared. Within the platform, we also have Touchbase. So if anybody's ever tried to invoke a call tree in their organization, this is an automated way of being able to run two-way SMS, email, and push communication across a wide range of people and get responses back that can be assimilated and evaluated swiftly. In-plan and in-incident chat, so Messenger, so if you're using WhatsApp, if you're using text message as your incident response tool, this is a cloud-based, secure, and encrypted mechanism to resolve that. And then finally, questionnaires and surveys, built-in incidents and standalone. Next slide, please. The benefits for our customers are first and foremost reduced manual data input. We're able to capture one piece of data and flow it through a range of different locations and different requirements so that we're able to create plans swiftly. We're able to connect that data together as well. We're able to connect our process resilience requirements with the underlying technology and service provider requirements through one simple to use platform. Our motto is very much keep it simple, and our motto is very much a bias to action. We're able to have people up and running on our platform within half an hour with basic training, all very straightforward, and true SaaS solution with methodology built in. This is not about putting in a complex implementation. You'll be up and running very swiftly. We're also software-driven consultancy, so we have a rapid development cycle. We're able to take on customer feedback and swiftly bring those changes to bear. But fundamentally, the most important benefit of the work that we do is compliance is built in. If you follow the Battleground Live platform, follow the bouncing ball, you will meet the ISO, you will meet the CPS 230, you will meet the BCI. So you can focus on resilience, not compliance. Next slide, please. And finally, the last thing that we're doing, where we're going next, is we're actually connecting our resilience platform with a GRC platform across risk, control, compliance, and action plans. True end-to-end operational resilience, meeting all of your APRA CPS 230 requirements in one platform. And I haven't mentioned it yet, but I have to be clear, we are also going to include AI in our tool. So absolutely following on with everybody on that focus. Got to almost the end of the presentation without saying those two letters, though, so quite proud of myself. Thank you, Nathan.
That sure was a good job not mentioning AI. Thanks, Joe. Next up is Chris from Record Point. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks very much, Nathan. Hi, everybody, and I'm Chris Brown, VP of Product here from Record Point, the data trust platform. Next slide, please, Nathan. I've rated the vault here. I've gone back and found a slide from about 1,000 years ago talking about how data has been doubling and doubling and doubling. And I'm going to start really early, unlike Joe, and go, generative AI is going to break that model. The fact that we used to talk about data growth in sort of terms of 18 months and 2 years and the doubling of this effort, you're going to see that generative AI is actually going to continuously increase, almost hockey stick, that volume of data. And so these stories that data governance platforms have been telling for years and selling the fear around the tsunami of information is going to seem like a trickle once upon a time when we look at what generative AI is going to cause in this space. Next slide, please, Nathan. What you're also going to see is data breaches. We've been seeing it already. Overnight, Ticketmaster's had 560 million punters' details leaked out onto the web, a $500,000 ransom asked for around those things. And it's all back to now security, where we're here today talking about cybersecurity and information governance. And obviously in the financial sector and the RegTech space, this is one of the key trends that we're obviously looking to help our customers with. Next slide, please. What we tend to talk about here, though, is actually trust. The cost of losing that data is the cost of losing trust of your citizenship, your residents, your customers, your suppliers. And anybody who was affected by Optus and some of the other breaches here more recently, you'll understand that feeling of, well, do I really need to trust these organizations with my data from here on in? Next slide, please, Nathan. Record Point's all about helping you, the regulated organisation, deal with your data the right way, ensure that it's safeguarded for privacy, security, and governance. Next slide, please, Nathan. We do that through helping you managing your data through a regular life cycle. I heard one of the other speakers speak earlier about, going back to core data governance, allowing organisations to have a good understanding of what they have, where they have it, what's in it, how sensitive it is, and what value it is, and making sure you understand what to do with it next. And this is where Record Point not only has been doing this for a number of years for our customers, but obviously starting to shine and help in this space as we have this convergence of data governance, data security, and data privacy. Next slide, please. The Record Point platform has a number of key use cases. We help you manage and understand where your private and sensitive data is in your organization. It can provide you an inventory in the event of a ransomware attack, understanding that post-breach, what was there, what did we lose, who is going to be affected, and make sure that happens sooner and faster. It helps you with the organizational regulations like CPS 234, ensuring all of your information across your entire data estate is categorized, while also helping you to do the simple things like minimize that data, get rid of that rot, eliminate duplicates, and actually retain information for the right period of time, ultimately destroying it legally. And sort of core background processes like records management fall out of the SaaS platform that is the Record Point Data Trust platform. Next slide, please, Nathan. You'll find us everywhere. We're an IRAP, 2 protected. third-party assess tool, one of the only full SaaS tools available and used inside federal government in Australia that's formally IRAP assessed by a third party. You'll find us in customers across the globe and helping them to manage petabytes and petabytes of data, allowing them to start to discover what's in it, how are they going to use it, what is the best way to manage it moving forward, and ensure they're not keeping anything they shouldn't have. Next slide, please, Nathan. I mentioned those customers. We're speaking today, obviously, in a RegTech environment. APRA is our customer. ASIC is our customer. The people who are writing the regulations are using the record point tooling to help them manage their information. We go to scale of organisations like the City of New York with roughly an exabyte of data under their control. And then we're looking at financial institutions from like Macquarie, National Australia Bank, Westpac. These are the sorts of organisations that are trusting Record Point to help them with their organisational data governance and help them to understand how best to make the next step as all of this converges. Last slide, please, Nathan. So thank you very much for your time, everybody. As I said, if you need anything further from us, you'll receive the slides. And in the slides, you'll actually find a number of additional case studies around some of the people that I mentioned. Thanks again.
Thank you, Chris. Next up, we have Nick from iCognition.
Thank you, Nathan. All right, a single cyber attack can cripple your entire business, exposing sensitive data, eroding customer trust, and costing millions of dollars in damages. Robust cyber security is not just a technical issue, it's a business imperative. Yet so many organizations continue to budget almost nothing and do very little to prevent it until it happens to them. My name is Nick Fripp from iCognition. We've been around for 21 years now in the business of protecting client data against cyber and security risks. We are an information management consulting organization, and we specialize in information management and governance and cyber security. Next slide, please. All right, so what is happening to our customers at the moment, or customers and potential customers? What I've seen at the moment is a thing called data anxiety. Now, people are getting anxiety about the information sprawl that is happening. The information is all over the place. I don't know what to deal with. There's so many systems, so many options for them to gather that data. There's sensitive data everywhere. Every time they're capturing information about a customer, there's sensitive data being exposed or created or managed as part of that process. The information is everywhere. It's in so many different systems, could be Teams, SharePoint, Drives, all sorts of applications. There's systems and information in every single application that they're using. No one knows which is the right application to use, to store things, to find things again. There's anxiety about the data breaches and fines and damages that can happen due to this exposure of their data. There's so many new regulations and compliances coming out and changes all the time, and people are never sure how to keep up with them, what to do about them, and how to protect themselves for them. And last but not least, a lot of people are running on outdated infrastructure and systems because they don't understand what to do and how to solve that problem. Next slide, please. So what is the solution? Well, iCognition's solution for this is cloud-hosted data protection. So we have a two-pronged approach to this, and this two-pronged approach is about cleaning up your data, protecting your data, and then allowing your users to find and surface that data in a way that suits their needs and their requirements. We do this through two products called Voltage Fusion and Ingress by iCognition. Next slide. So the first prong of our approach is the whole cleaning up and de-risking of your environment. So this is going through and making sure everything is known. You find what's in your solution and look at how we protect and look after that information for you. So it starts with a number of phases. So we look at discovering phase. So what inventory do you have in the system? What's classified? What's not classified? Where is there PII information that you may not be aware of, or sensitive data, or whole high-value data that's been kept inside these data sets? What in there might be redundant or obsolete or trivial? What can we do about that? Once we've discovered that, then we look at some insights. So what, some reporting on that. So what does that look like? So what kind of risk is that providing to your organization? What impact is that going to have on your organization once we've found all this information? We then look at moving to the protection stage. So now that we've identified it, we've given some reports on it and visualized it. Now, how do we protect that information? So how do we look at managing it in place? How do we de-identify and mask the information? How do we protect your personal information or sensitive data? We then look at a monitoring stage, so we'll monitor that information going forward. So now that we know what it looks like, where to find it, we've set up a monitoring process that looks for that ongoing in the future. This is based on machine learning and AI, and it knows what to look for, how to protect you from that automatically. And then we apply the governance rules around that. So how do we defensively delete information that may be trivial? How do we apply lifecycle policies to protect that information ongoing for your organization? How do we provide data sovereignty? So all that process is part of the cleanup and de-risking of your environment. Next slide, please. And then we move on to how does the user interact with that? So most users just want to capture information, they want to find information and get on with their job. So then we provide the Ingress Content Services platform on the top of that. This is about unifying your information environment, making it available to all your users wherever they want to live. So maybe they want to live in Teams or SharePoint or OneDrive or Outlook, any of those particular business systems that you have. We want the user to live in there, but know that their things have been protected and managed for them. So we run an enterprise search across all those applications so the user can find that information, but they're only finding useful information and protected information. They're not going and finding critical information or critical private information they shouldn't be finding because we've protected that in the previous stage. So they're finding things that are only relevant to their business and their decisions, and then we can help them manage that in their chosen corporate store or environment. Next slide, please. And that's my slide. So thank you very much for listening to me. My contact details are there if you want to ask any further questions from there. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Nick. And we've saved the best for last. We have Paul from Auraya Systems.
Oh, thank you, Nathan, and thank you for that endorsement of being the best. Well, good afternoon, everybody. I'm excited to be here. I have 5 minutes, so I had a job to either cut down my content or speak faster. So apologies for everybody for me speaking faster. Next slide, please. So Auraya is a voice biometric technology company, and I've just put up here a background of some of the customers that we've got in the regulated space. I like to start with BNZ as they were our first bank in the world to use our voice biometric technology. The latest bank in the world to use our technology is Tatra Banka, and in Slovakia, we've got the world's largest custodian bank in State Street Bank, the largest customer-owned bank in nationwide. I could go on forever, but hopefully you get the picture. We know voice biometrics very well, and our customers are a testament to our capability. Next slide, please. So most people understand and recognise the value of voice biometrics in contact centres, allowing organisations to have secure yet convenient access to customers' accounts and data by simply allowing their customers to use their voice. I won't talk about that today. It's my favourite subject, but I wanted to also mention that we've got Eva Web now, which allows voice to be used as a multi-factor authentication in all digital channels, whether it's chat and messaging or whether it's applications on smartphones, where instead of being sent a one-time passcode via email or SMS or asking people to use those forever elusive web applications to get access to their services, we present a one-time passcode inside their application and allow people just to say their passcode, spirit that information off to a secure vault, and compare the voice that was used to say the one-time passcode with the authorised person's voice. That way we know it was a trusted device, we know it was the right one-time passcode, and we know it was the authorised person. But today I wanted to talk about Eva Forensics. And this Eva Forensics is our platform that allows us to screen every conversation in an organisation to make sure it's not a bad actor, which includes deepfake or synthetic voice. Next slide, please. So all of us understand the benefits of the new AI world that we live in. It's fantastic if you're using it, but it's leading organisations and individuals to be deeply worried about what happens if somebody can synthetically create an image of my face and a copy of my voice and pretend to be me. Not only does it lead to organisational losses and inefficiencies and fines, it leads to personal disasters where people are taken over and made to be a victim of
the bad actors, malicious attack. It's also being used in political and other environments where organisation or bad actors, whether they be state-based or individuals, are attacking institutions and politicians. So if we go to the next slide, what do we do about this? EVA forensics. Let me spend a couple of minutes saying what it does in simplistic terms. EVA forensics can sit there in the background monitoring the conversations that occur inside an organisation. Now, traditionally, those have been conversations from consumers to contact centres, but this is conversations with voice bots. It's conversations between employees. It's conversations in these sorts of conference calls or webinars where you might be talking with staff, but you might also be talking with customers. Is the audio that's being used to represent a conversation a known bad actor? Is the audio that's being used a suspected bad actor? Is the audio coming from a device that we don't trust, that we mistrust a little bit because we haven't seen it before? Or is the audio coming from a device that we have high trust in? And importantly, does the audio sound like a synthetic voice, even if it sounds human-like to another human person in that conversation? Does EVA forensics, AI, detect that audio is in fact being generated by a synthetic voice generator? So Auraya is using sophisticated AI to provide protection against bad actors using sophisticated AI. Next slide, please. We would love to talk to people about any aspect of how voice biometrics can assist an organisation provide secure yet convenient access to services in traditional phone channels, but all of the digital channels, but more importantly today, how it can be used to protect an organisation from the threats being perpetrated by bad actors using synthetic voice or other AI activities. Please get in touch with us if we can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you to all of our presenters today. We hope you found this event insightful. Before we close, I do have a couple of things that are coming up to share with you. The RegTech Association is heading to London in a couple of weeks for the UK and Europe region RegTech Global Series. If you're in London on the 25th of June, you can register to attend the face-to-face half-day conference held at Australia House. Or if you're elsewhere in the world and don't want to miss out, register for the webinar, which is on the 19th of June. For full details and to register for those events, you can head over to regtechglobal.org. Finally, if you are a member of the RegTech Association and are based in or have clients in the UK or Europe, our RegTech Awards are open until the 5th of June. Make sure you enter so that you can be recognized and celebrated for your work in supporting the growth of the RegTech ecosystem. Winners for these awards will be announced at our face-to-face event in London on the 25th of June. Thanks again to all of our presenters and of course to all of you who have tuned in today. If you have any questions, feedback or suggestions, feel free to email us. Otherwise, we hope to see you at our next event. Have a great evening, morning, wherever you are, and take care. Bye.